So this is just another little experiment I set up. I have this inside. It was locking up 9 and 10 satellites indoors. So without powering anything down or changing anything, I just picked up the notebook and the little 5-inch connected and just carried it out here and set it down. And out here now it's jumping between 10 and 14 satellites max, which again, I'm staying above 8. I think I'll have position hold and return to home possibilities, so I've got a battery charging to try to fly it here and see what I can do with it. But still, so far, no joy on the M10Q5883 GPS. I left it outside for 10 minutes before I made that video. I just picked it up and brought it back in here, and you can see now it's down to locking 9 or 10 satellites max, bouncing all over the place again. So there is a difference between indoors and outdoors, but it's not drastic. In case you haven't noticed, my mentality has moved from build mode to fly mode, so I put that battery on the platform and I went outside. I expected a 20-minute flight here. Things did not go great. Well, they went great. I brought everything back with no scratches again, but that's really luck. First thing that went on was it was locking up above 8 satellites. And so I decided to take off in loiter mode. Well, it wasn't really in loiter mode. I'm not using my ground station, so I've got no way to tell that. There is a message on the screen that I have seen now that says it didn't go into loiter mode. So I popped it up a little bit and centered the sticks, and it decided to go flying by my left shoulder, and I said, that's not even loitering, and I grabbed the emergency motor stop and dumped it on the ground. Found out later I had the battery mispositioned on the platform was the reason it drifted all over the place. I don't know how I got it that far out from where it should be, but when maybe the crash moved it back and I flew it the second time, it was messed up then and wasn't in this flight. But anyway, the long and the short of it is even though I had 8 or more satellites, it didn't loiter. And like I say, I found out now, it told me it didn't go into loiter. It failed to go into loiter. For what reason yet, I don't know. So based on that little flight and behavior, I knew it didn't go into loiter mode, or loiter mode wasn't working right, no matter how many sats I had, etc., etc. But I'm still in flying mode now, so I didn't trust loiter. I didn't trust return to home. So I turned around and flew another flight and stabilized and tried to go into loiter again. You can see it on the screen this time. It says it didn't go into loiter and starts to tell why, but then another telemetry message comes up and overwrites it. You can't see it in this. I'll have to dig it out of the data flash logs. So I knew it wasn't loitering, and I got a wild hair. I took it up anyway. I just wanted to get above the trees. I did get above the trees. I got it to the highest altitude it's been yet. And then because of the poor battery placement, which again might have been knocked around by that little crash. I didn't really recheck it after that crash, should have. It was just trying to drift out of my sight, and straight up, I don't have much. It's just only straight up. So what you're going to see is I really just had to hassle with it to keep it where I could see it. It was so high at 182 feet, that was starting to be in jeopardy. So I got it back over the hole, I'll call it, in the backyard between trees and roof. And I dropped it down. And you're going to see I dropped it down like a bandit. And got it back on the ground and stuff, and now I've got to research what went on there. Why am I not getting into loiter, etc., etc., etc. So you can see here I took off and stabilized with 8 satellites. I wasn't going to trust return to home. I wasn't going to trust loiter. I had to jump it up there, and then I put it in altitude hold. I do trust that. And I tried to put it in loiter again right there. Loiter requires something, but like I say, the telemetry message overwrote that. So although it's in loiter on the radio right now, it's not on the platform, as you can see in the upper left. And you can see it's drifting. Even at 47 feet, it was trying to get past the roof line where I couldn't see it, and I can't trust return to home, not to send it in another direction. And I'm not quite yet tuned in on the monitor that was sitting right in front of me. I did use the monitor just a little bit. So I took it up. I had to break the tree line for once. I don't know, whatever didn't put it in loiter never corrected itself, so it's still in altitude hold. But it was trying to get to the right where it was blocked by the trees, etc., etc., etc. So I was pretty nervous during all of this, trying to keep it over the little hole I can see above me. It's very small. And so right here, don't know why that yaw reset there either. I gave it up and got it back. You can see it's almost over home point. And I dropped the throttle. Going down. So I got it back on the ground with no problem whatsoever. Not sure what's going on again, but I will figure it out. I do need to go back to my larger fields and quit trying this stuff in this backyard where I don't get good locks and stuff. And when I've got it working there, I can come back and try it here. I'm just really in flying mode right now. So here is the run cam video of the 2-minute flight. And then I'll download the data flash logs and we'll look at them real quick and see if we can figure out why it wouldn't loiter. So this is what I've got out of the data flash logs so far. Looks like it was armed and auto. And that might have been that first flight. I'm not sure. And no, that was the second flight. Anyway, right here was where I think flight mode 5 must be auto, and it didn't go in, or loiter, I'm sorry, not auto. Here it says mode change to loiter failed, requires position. I think it's position information or something. There's something it's not getting right here, and I've got this before. Let's see what goes on out through here. Let's set its home. GPS. Lane switch. EKF3 lane switch. That's not a good thing. I think that was that yaw reset when I was up over the trees, though. And where you got the emergency yaw reset. Okay. Let's see what else. I think that's about all. Okay. Now this is after, that's when I picked it up, after the flight right here. The compass glitch. Here's another one. This is just me carrying it with it on battery, I think. GPS error 2. Now I've got 3 GPSs. I've got GPS 0, 1, and 2 now. So I think that's the whole of the flight. Let's turn messages off. 53 to 56, 55, 34. Yeah, that's about 2 minutes time span in here. So there's some kind of positioning stuff it didn't get. Now there is some stuff that I don't understand. The number of satellites that I changed from 7 to 8 used to be, let me show you that. This is primer I'm talking about right here, AHRS GPS minimum satellites. It default 6, used to be 7. Default's always been 6. I used to use 7, now I bumped it up to 8. That used to be the minimum number of satellites to arm. It looks like that's not what that perimeter is anymore. Minimum number of satellites visible to use GPS for velocity base corrections. This defaults to 6, which is about the point where velocity numbers from a GPS become too unreliable or accurate for accurate correction of the accelerometers. So that's not even the same perimeter of the last time I was flying quads, which probably my last flight before these recently was in 2000, I'd say 17. So it's been about 5 years since I've flown Ardocopter. And what I'm seeing from this, and what's been bothering me about this all along, and I was going to look into, had it kind of on my to-do list, was it lets me arm no matter how many satellites are locked up, and I can fly in stabilized and altitude hold mode. That isn't the way it used to be. You could not arm until the number of satellites you had in the perimeter, which, like I say, it's different in an old version of software, it looks like. So that's been bothering me all along, that it would even arm with less than the 8 satellites I have here. But like I say, now I look and see it's no longer the minimum satellites to arm. It's when the GPS is settled down enough for comparing against the accelerometers, it looks like. So whatever the rest of that, and I'll probably look it up in the documentation, whatever the rest of that era is, where it says it can't go into loiter mode because of some requires position something. I'm going to have to look it up in the documentation to see. Mode change to loiter failed. Requires a position. I pretty much knew from what was going on that my loiter wasn't working right. That's why I didn't trust return to home. That's why I wouldn't let it get over the edge of the roof or over the trees where I couldn't see it line of sight. I could have used the monitor if it had, but I didn't want to resort to that. So now I've got to dig down a little deeper on this required positioning, and like I say, I think this is going to be fine if I take it to one of the big fields and it locks up a bunch of satellites and sits there. But I still don't regret changing to this new GPS. So, all right, guys. Thanks a lot. Oh, by the way, my colonoscopy is scheduled for 3 months from now in November. They don't do anything fast anymore. Pain's sort of gone away this afternoon, but the past 2 days I've had some that was pretty bad. I don't want it to all come crashing back. All right, now I'm done. Thank you, guys.